Merry Christmas, one and all. I hope you had a lovely day yesterday. Lots of turkey. Well, it'll be lots of cold turkey today if you've got a big bird, if you know what I mean. A little bit of rum for me yesterday, actually. So a little sore head this morning, but going to get back into the swing of things because there's football all day today. I think there's football all day tomorrow, quite possibly. We don't have to worry about it until Thursday, which is, I think, it's a really nice little chill out for over the Christmas period. And we're doing pretty damn well in the league, aren't we? So we can just sort of enjoy whatever unfolds today. I'll be back tomorrow with a video, a little interesting rumour about Eddie Howe and David Moyes, actually. But for now, we've got a little bit of West Ham news because we're bound to have it because it's the build-up to the transfer window. So I think, first of all, let's deal with a couple of the stories about players going out. And to say players, they're both to one club, actually. And I'm talking about Nayef Aguerd, and I'm talking about Benrahma. Now, the really interesting one with Benrahma is there's sort of quotes attributed to it, or quotes, leaks, whatever you want to say, and that is that Benrahma has demanded a transfer in January from West Ham. Now, I've got to say, I don't blame him at all. Now, let me just quantify this because somebody sort of had a bit of a go at me following my appraisal of Benrahma after the Liverpool game. Now, let me get this absolutely right. I had 3 players in that team against Liverpool who I thought were equally bad as Benrahma, and we covered them in our Patreon player ratings. However, somebody sort of decided to sort of put an arm around Benrahma, get a little bit protective about him. So let me just make my point there because I don't feel that I dig him out, and certainly no more than Thomas Souček, for instance. But I feel with Benrahma, it's not really his fault. I think he's had a massive fall from grace. He was one of the heroes of Prague, wasn't he? He's deadly with that penalty. And not the first time, if you remember back to the cup game against Manchester City. I thought he held his nerve and was the most clinical of all the players when we won that penalty shootout. In fact, I think it's really weird because I don't think that Benrahma was particularly decisive and clinical, yet line him up for a penalty and he becomes absolutely those things. I think he's had a massive fall from grace considering he was, sort of, as I say, a hero of Prague. But he's not really featuring in the team anymore. And when he does play, he plays average or poorly. He never plays really well. I think the one time he has played well in the last couple of months has been like a workmanlike performance where he was sort of closing down, and that's really not Benrahma. So I don't blame him for wanting a transfer out of there. I think it's hard to say that it was the wrong move for him because he turned up and he won a trophy. But look, he doesn't suit our counter-attacking play, really, does he? Let's be honest. And he's a very, very skillful player. I'm sure he'll find a good home somewhere else. And, somebody where not necessarily build a team around him, but he can play in a possession-based team rather than a counter-attacking one. He's just too slow to do whatever he does. He sort of does the step-overs, runs down the wing, checks back inside. Players that thrive in at West Ham under David Moyes take one touch, run directly at goal, shoot early, that sort of thing. He's just not that player. But I don't blame him for wanting a move away. He's certainly a very, very talented player, but he's just not doing it for West Ham at the moment. So if Olympique Lyonnais want him, hey, look, they can have him, as far as I'm concerned anyway. Now, what is interesting is they also want Nayef Aguerd. Now, this is a very, very different proposition. Now, as I understand it, if I remember correctly, Benrahma, we had a scout, Jed, a former West Ham scout. I think he might have suggested he scouted Benrahma when he was in France. I might have that slightly wrong. We had him on, did an interview with us over on Patreon. And also, obviously, Nayef Aguerd's got a really big reputation in France. There's a natural link between Olympique Lyonnais and West Ham, not just because obviously we faced them in the Europa League, but Lucas Paqueta was there, wasn't he? Maxwell Cornet was there. I think he was there before he went to Burnley, quite possibly. And also Emerson was on loan there from Chelsea just before we signed him. Yes, we signed him from Chelsea, but really we sort of almost got him from Olympique Lyonnais in that sense. So there's an avenue of dialogue between the two clubs. However, I do think Nayef Aguerd is a very, very different proposition. Firstly, I can't imagine that Nayef Aguerd would be affordable to Olympique Lyonnais. I think they can afford Benrahma because we're going to have to take a loss on him. We have to take a loss on the player because he would have depreciated. His form would have absolutely depreciated because he just doesn't play anymore. And Nayef Aguerd, I'm not so sure that's the case. I think we bought him for 30 odd million. I would suggest he still is worth that. I've always said that Nayef Aguerd, I think, would be an outstanding player in when I say a top team, I mean a team that keeps possession and plays a high line because he's got that pace to get back. But I also do think he's very good in a team that counterattacks, particularly us, because he gives us that long pass out, and I think that's really, really, really important for us to the way that David Moyes probably wants to play. I just think, when he comes under so much pressure, when we sit deep and we have those games where we sort of don't have a shot in the first half or something like that, I think eventually pressure tells on him. He's just not the type of defender that should be defending, for 90 minutes, quite frankly. So, but anyway, I don't want to sell him to Olympique Lyonnais. It's a no from me. Ian Maatsen, I read somewhere West Ham are increasingly confident of signing Ian Maatsen from Chelsea. Can't see it. Has to be said. Look, is he featured in the first team as a starting player for Chelsea? No, he's not. But he's always used as a substitute. I mean, at any time I've seen Chelsea, he's on as a substitute. So he's part of the thinking. The other thing is with Chelsea, how long's that manager going to be there? Could you honestly, would you put any amount of money? You're not going to put your house, put it this way, on Pochettino being the manager at the end of the season of Chelsea. So that's uncertainty, right? There's a level of uncertainty. And I think with that, the player knows that, and it could well be that a new manager comes in and Maatsen becomes the first choice left back. He almost signed for Burnley though, didn't he? So maybe they'll sell him, maybe they won't. I don't know. I don't know what the finances are. They've spent so much money. Maybe they need to recuperate some money. I just can't see it really. Flynn Downs, Southampton for 14 million. Not now. At the end of the season, seems to be increasingly likely to happen. Southampton would be foolish to do it now because they don't know if they're going to be up in the Premier League there. Well, it's increasingly likely they'll have to do it through the playoffs, won't they? So, it could be very, very interesting there. But I still think there's probably a deal to be done with him because we wouldn't have paid for Ward-Prowse 25 million up front. We just wouldn't have done that. So it may well be that the second payment, you take that off the Flynn Downs money or something like that. There could probably be something that was done there. And I think the other thing is obviously we retain an interest in Kyle Walker-Peters. So even if they don't get promoted, they may well look to do that anyway. What else we got? We got Dominic Solanke. Let's finish up with Dominic Solanke. There's rumours with him again. I think the longer it goes on, the less likely it is because he's scoring goals. Now, I mean, David Moyes might have reason to be a little bit annoyed because whilst the transfer window was still open, he said he wanted him this season, didn't he? Maybe we just couldn't have got him. Who knows? But we definitely wanted him. I do wonder how much the Lucas Paqueta deal falling through to Man City slowed these things up because I still, like many others, not my own in this obviously, but think that Kudus was signed as Paqueta's replacement. And then he didn't go. So that's why we've I think got a lopsided team. We're trying to shoehorn players in here and there. And I do think that once that money had to come in, I think most of that money would have been available to spend for Lucas Paqueta. So I think we might have gone and got Solanke, something like that. But, I mean, he played, I think it was the first game of the season. Talking about Nayef Aguerd, Solanke did a real job on him. And David Moyes must be licking his lips looking at him heading the ball in. But he scored a hat-trick the other day for Bournemouth. But Bournemouth are in fine fettle at the moment. Bournemouth are playing really, really well. And I think if I was Solanke, I'd probably stay put. It's taken him a long time to get his career on track to become a prolific Premier League goal scorer. He's done it before in the Championship, but to be prolific in the Premier League, it's not happened before now. And you've got to remember, this kid he was not a kid, he's a grown-ass man, but when he was a kid, he was the outstanding player in the England under-21s. Obviously, he was signed to Chelsea. He played, signed for Liverpool eventually as well, and before he made the move to Bournemouth. So I think he's had a lot of chances to try and make it in the big time, and this is his first time that he's probably, looking at it thinking, I don't blame him if he wouldn't want to rock the boat. I think he would play well within our system. Maybe we could flash our knickers at him and offer him, European football and whatnot, and if we were to do the deal in January. But honestly, if it was him, I wouldn't want to go. Bournemouth, I think, don't need the money. They're a club going places as well. I'm very, very impressed with their manager. Pretty damn impressed with their ownership. I like the look of their team. There's a lot to like about Bournemouth, and I think a lovely, lovely place to live down there. But he's got a lovely house on the south coast, possibly overlooking the sea or something. Honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I would not blame him for staying put. Pretty good for his career there as well. Anyway, there you go. That's about it. Just a little brief transfer and West Ham news roundup, really. Enjoy the rest of your day. Lots of football on, of course. I'll be back tomorrow to have a little chat about Eddie Howe, another person who's probably got quite a nice house on the south coast overlooking the sea. I doubt he sold that in any hurry. Enjoy the rest of your Boxing Day, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.